For 24 years, Mark Reilly was an Army drummer. As part of the Old Guard, he performed at presidential inaugurations, White House arrivals, and recruiting ceremonies.
You're doing all of this work. I mean, you just start to go, you're a part of this much bigger story. And it was just completely humbling and fell in love with every piece of it.
Something unexpected started happening at the end of every performance.
At the end of every single one of our events, we had veterans just kind of pouring their guts out of these brutal stories. Often the families were there and they're like, we've never heard this before. And the stories that started coming out were PTSD and traumatic brain injury driven.
For generations, military music has marked moments of honor, ceremony, and sacrifice. Mark Reilly started asking a different question. Could music also heal?
Close to 76-77% of veterans will not touch anything with the term therapy associated with it. And so we started looking at the stigmas, we started looking at the reasons why do veterans kind of refuse to seek therapy even if they really need it.
His answer was a wellness program called Rudiments to Recovery, using music not as a therapy, but as something veterans would actually embrace.
What we've been able to do is step in as an emotional regulator and a modality for connection. In the veteran space, sense of trust is massive.
In this episode of Army Matters, our co-hosts sit down with Sergeant Major retired Mark Reilly, founder of the Washington Tattoo. They discuss his career at the intersection of music, leadership, and public service, explain what a military tattoo is, and reveal the unexpected healing power of music. I'm Carrie Varuhaikis, and this is Army Matters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Army Matters. I'm your co-host, the 15th Sergeant of the Army, retired Dan Daly. And you know who's on the team with me? The same old guy.
Yeah, your good friend, the 66th Inspector General of the United States Army, Dan.
Yes, Les.
And I'm your co-host. Did you know that?
Yeah. I said you're my teammate.
Yeah. Hey, but check this out,
man.
man.
It's the same.
You look a little different today, man. What's going on with your face? What you got growing on over there?
On the weekends, I don't shave. And
Okay.
I woke up on Monday getting ready for work, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to let this thing ride out. We're going to do a spring fling. You know what I'm saying? We're going to let the beard come out.
Okay. Did you talk to the other VPs and get permission first to do that?
Well, the truth is, for our listeners out there, our boss is not in town. And when he gets back, they're going to be upset.
he's going to make you shave it.
That's right. He's going to make me shave it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I don't know why we're talking about this.
We got way off track there.
Yeah, we did.
That's normal. That's normal.
It does.
That's normal. So what are we doing today, Les? What are we doing?
We have a podcast guest who knows a lot about the Army.
Oh, we're actually doing a podcast today?
Yeah, and he knows a lot about music too.
Yeah.
But I think you're supposed to intro him and then I come in after that.
Yeah, actually, the gentleman that we have in the studio today with us, listeners, is an amazingly talented musician, an incredible soldier of many years, reached the highest level. He's retired as a sergeant major. And he led one of the most distinguished organizations in the United States Army, and that was the United States Army's Fife and Drum Corps. Yeah. And he hasn't stopped there. He's on a mission to bring music to the world, I would say. I would say, because I think big for him. I think big of him, and I think he's going to be amazing. So without further ado, Les, what do you think? Should we bring him on the show?
Yeah, let's bring him on the show.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Major retired Mark Reilly and my good friend. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, SMA. Sir, it's a pleasure to meet you and see you again here on the podcast. But yeah, absolutely pleasure to be here and honored to participate today.
Yeah, good. Hey, welcome to Army Matters, Mark. And, I got to jump in first with a question. Are you the guy who has the little hat that everybody wears, and you're the one marching for the fife and drum? Is that
You're
you?
talking the drum major. You're saying you think the drum
major? Yeah.
I did some time as the drum major wearing the bearer, but that was typically not me. I was wearing the smaller black tricorn hats. And it's funny you bring that up because I was at the Bush Presidential Institute. I graduated from their scholars program in November and actually had the opportunity to have dinner with President Bush at a table. And all he did was bust my chops about being the funny guy with the funny hat on the White House lawn.
So tell us how you know SMA Daily. The inquiring minds want to know.
So SMA and I go back, this is probably close to 10 or 15 years now. And he was busting my chops at the Fort Myer gym, along with CSM Dan Smith from Pershing's Own. And he said, I'm wondering if these old school drummers are better than the new school drummers. So he started some trash talking between the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps and Pershing's Own. And at that point, the impetus of the All-Army drumline battle was created during the Best Warrior competition right before AUSA and the Army 10 Miler.
Okay, so what happened? Who won?
I mean, I always have to say, I have a preference. I think the traditional guys are definitely the better guys. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Army had to win. So the Army won. So we choreographed the battle.
Okay, all right. So I got to pull up there just a little bit. So for our listeners, we kind of know because we hear you guys play all the time. What's the difference between the fife and drum and Pershing's Own?
Absolutely. So Pershing's Own is the official U.S. Army band, and they are a full band. It is a wind ensemble, meaning everything from percussion to trumpets to flutes. And they have a ceremonial band that does a lot of the incredible work at Arlington National Cemetery, so laying our fallen comrades to rest. And they also perform at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The U.S. Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps is attached to the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, which is the presidential escort, and is a part of the traditional upkeep of the music side of the house for the Army. So going back to George Washington's Army and sharing the culture and heritage of the beginning of the Army story.
Well, we're going to jump into what you do now, but I want to back up a minute. So tell us why you joined the Army and what led you to ultimately leading the Fife and Drum Corps.
So I joined the Army because of student loan repayment program.
Yeah, yeah. We got you.
So I went to undergrad for music education, had a degree in percussion, and was going to be a band director in Dallas, Texas. That was my hope, dreams, and desires. But at that time, I wasn't sure, if I fit that mold or not. I didn't honestly plan on joining the military. And a cohort professor of mine said, look, you have to see if there is an opportunity to be a part of the Old Guard. It is the #1 drumline in the world. And so a good friend of mine, retired Master Sergeant Josh Dukes, shout out to him. He started sharing the openings that were at the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. So I auditioned, ended up making it into the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps, spent 15 years as a drummer doing White House arrivals, presidential inaugurations. So I did everything from the second Bush inaugural through the Biden inaugural, White House arrivals for the Pope Francis, Queen Elizabeth II, that type of work. And then the last 5 years spent doing policy writing for Army music. And so constantly trying to always figure out, how does music fit in today's culture? And we really leaned in on how does the warfighter get supported through, the work at Walter Reed, Brooke Army Medical Center, and how do we bring music closer to the warfighter? So the last 5 years got some good time putting that together.
So Mark, if you could tell our listeners the level of talent and education necessary to be accepted into the Army Fife and Drum Corps and Pershing's Own, what was your audition like? Because it's not easy to get in, is it?
It's a very extensive audition process. So specifically with the Fife and Drum Corps, it's a 2-day on-site audition process. But prior to that is a video round. So you can get anywhere from 25 to 30 to 50 videos that will come in for snare drum, let's say. And there's snare drum requirements. You have to play your basic rudiments, which is kind of the components of drumming. There are excerpts that you have to perform that are required excerpts, and then you get to choose like a 2-minute selection. So that will be in front of a panel, and it will get whittled down to maybe 6 to 8 people who will come to the on-site audition. And the on-site audition does include a standing ceremonial test for 30 minutes, sight reading, performance, a marching test, and an interview at the very end. So I mean, you're definitely dealing with folks that are auditioning for the New York Philharmonic or Chicago Symphony, all the top drum corps in the world. Most folks have a master's. Some folks have a doctorate in music to come into the fife and drum corps.
Yeah, incredibly talented. So you had this amazing career as a musician in the Army, being a soldier. You retired as a sergeant major, so congratulations on that. And now, what are you doing today? Tell our listener, what do you do now?
I truly fell in love with the education of soldiers. And when we went to Walter Reed all these years, we went to Brooke Army Medical Center, we saw face-to-face the power of music with wounded warriors. And, I remember being at the burn clinic at BAMC, and you were coming face-to-face with 19-year-old soldiers who will never live another normal day in their life again. And in that moment, you saw how music directly impacted well-being and the mental health of wounded warriors. So fell in love with that. Now the Washington Tattoo is a nonprofit that does support veteran mental health through the power of music. And we use music as a tool for emotional regulation and connectedness. And we have built a landing zone for veterans to become a part of a music community and utilizing service and music to engage their mental health needs. And then really at the end of the day was we put on music performances, classes, workshops that uplift veterans who are struggling.
So Mark, help me out here. How is the Washington Tattoo different from other military tattoos? What are the musical styles and the instruments that are represented?
So internationally, if we go back to the term tattoo, it was a call. So just like Reilly, just like mess call, just like retreat into the color, there were musical calls that were the time watch or the clock of the Army. So if you go back to George Washington's Continental Army, every signal was played either by a drum, a fife, arguably a bagpipe, and a trumpet. So it just depended upon which unit you were in. So if we look at the term tattoo, tattoo was the final call of the evening. It was actually a Dutch phrase called do dun tap toe, which literally means to turn off the taps. Yeah, the beer taps. So it was last call for alcohol played on the drum or the fife or the bagpipe or the trumpet. So historically speaking, that final call of the evening, if we fast forward to post-World War II, the largest military tattoo, and there is a global scene for international tattoos. So almost every major country across the globe has a tattoo. So the largest of which is in Edinburgh, Scotland. And so in front of the Edinburgh Castle throughout the entire month of August, you have a show which has 10,000 people attending each show each night for 26 nights. So they're doing 250,000 plus in an audience in 1 month, which is then a part of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And it's this massive, massive music and cultural festival. So the history with the tattoo is after World War II, they were using really soft power, cultural diplomacy, military music, drill teams, those types of organizations to bring humanity back to Europe after the World War II, decimation of a lot of Europe. So in Scotland, very much a focus on bagpipes. If you look at other tattoos, they're going to be focused on their historical traditions, their cultural traditions. The Twilight tattoo that happens at Fort Myer is a huge one. So that's hyper-focused really on just the U.S. Army, not just say just, but that's, the main focus is the U.S. Army. The evening parade at 8th and I with Marine Barracks, Washington is a Marine kind of version of a Marine tattoo. So the Washington tattoo really came from the history of the Edinburgh tattoo. In 2005, I was a guest drummer, performed in the Edinburgh tattoo when they went to Sydney, Australia. And at that time, Brigadier Sir Melville Jameson was the producer and CEO of the Edinburgh tattoo. And he pulled me aside one day and said, "Mark, why is there no proper tattoo in Washington, D.C.? Like a proper one where you're bringing in folks from Congress, you're bringing in massive corporations, you're bringing in the veteran community, and it's a whole city-wide effort. And so Sir Mel poked me for about 15 years, just saying, come on, get this done, get this done. And so 2019, we stood up the Washington Tattoo, and of course, COVID hit, but now we're in year 6 going into year 7, and now we're partnered with America 250 and Freedom 250 this year.
So help us out here, Mark. Why did Sir Melville Jameson pick you out of all the drummers to start Washington Tattoo?
So it was a very unique time. It was right after my first inauguration, which was Bush 2. And when we were there were no American units at this event. And so I was kind of a stranger in a strange land. And as an American service member, part of the honor guard of the Army, he definitely knew who I was. He came to me and knew me by name. And what was really unique is I was a part of a drum group called the Top Secret Drum Corps. And the Top Secret Drum Corps from Switzerland is a world-renowned drum line that brings drummers together, throwing sticks and lighting them on fire, all that crazy stuff. But he knew that I had a background in music writing. He knew that I was in a top-tier military band in D.C. And to be quite frank, I could speak to people and knew how to connect with people. And so treat people the way you want them to be treated, from the cab driver to the server at the restaurant to the SMA to a 3 to 4 star general. How you treat people is how you really make great business relationships. So I think he saw me in that space, treating everyone as an equal and respecting other people and looking to pull talent from people. And so Sir Mel is how we lovingly call him, has been a great and still is a great mentor for me.
Okay. So how did you survive COVID?
We kind of were really scared. I almost got stuck in the UK. I was in front of Edinburgh Castle taking photographs March of 2020. So it was, I believe, March 3rd that we were in Edinburgh. And I think March 6th, they closed the border for COVID. So we survived COVID by creating a podcast, 50 some odd episodes, from Nico McBrain with Iron Maiden to SMA Dan Daly, special guests, lots of other good folks there. But we ended up also doing a virtual tattoo. All of the military bands from across the globe were not doing anything. So we put 2 virtual tattoos, and we had the Commandant's Own, the Fife and Drum Corps, the Royal Australian Navy Band, the Conscript Band from Finland. And one of our producers for the show is a good friend of mine from Cirque du Soleil. So Kit Chatham is a band leader with Cirque du Soleil, and he put together this 1-hour program, and we ended up putting together 2 virtual tattoos during the 2 years of COVID.
That's so cool.
Wow. Let's talk about why. From day one, your goal was never just to perform. I mean, you did that as a musician. That's what you're capable of. But you did it. When did it become clear that you needed to prioritize the meaning behind why you want to do this?
Great question. But I'll back up to here. This is a story I share not all the time, but my favorite grandfather died when I was 5. I knew that we were from New York originally, and so my parents are from the Bronx, kind of hard head, kind of old school New York Catholic, Irish Catholic. And my grandfather, who was my favorite grandfather, passed away when I was 5, taught me how to throw a baseball, go fishing, all of that. And I knew he served in the Pacific during World War II. And that's really kind of all I knew about him. Fast forward, I'm 11 years old, and I start taking drumming lessons from a gentleman named Nick Antanasio. And Nick was about 75 when I was 11. So very much like a Yoda figure for me, teaching me the ways of the Force and drumming. But he always said to me in every lesson, what I'm showing you is not yours to keep. Like, you can't keep this. It's not yours to keep. It's only yours to give. And so at 11 years old, made no sense. Every decade made more and more and more sense. And then fast forward, I graduate from high school, and my mother hands me a pair of beat up old drumsticks. I was like, oh, these got to be from Nick. And she goes, no, they're from your grandfather. These are from my father. And I went, get out of here. And so in my office, my mother also handed me these 2 photographs that I still have here in my office today. One is him from the Pacific in World War II, looking all disheveled, beat to hell. And then the second photograph was from 1936. And he was in a cadet uniform with a snare drum across his chest.
Wow.
He was in an American Legion drum and bugle corps out of the South Bronx. I was like, this is crazy.
Very
like this
cool.
is nuts. Found out later on, this was as I was joining the Army. My mother shared with me that the day my grandfather turned 65, he stepped out of the VA hospital, stepped in front of a truck and killed himself. And he had a note in his pocket, said, don't blame the driver. So completely premeditated, knew he apparently was a massive alcoholic. And so for me, I didn't really know what the vehicle was not to reconcile that story. I don't think there's a way to reconcile it, but maybe to honor that story and honor, something that story represents. And so for me, with the Washington tattoo, I mean, a $7 pair of drumsticks got me to the White House lawn. Like, that ROI is crazy. And if I can help do that for kids and do it for family members, that makes sense to me. And through these music programs that we have currently rolling right now, if those were around when my grandfather was making that decision, like, could I have ever drummed with my grandfather? And I'll never know, but that now is what drives me every single day.
Wow, that's so cool. So why do you think your mom took so long to tell you that story?
I don't know. That's a really good one. I think part of it is, I don't know if she had actually dealt with her father taking his own life. I think that was a struggle for her. There's a sense of pride, right? Like, my family member would never do that. But I mean, my mother knew I was going to the old guard, and she knew that I was going to be in Arlington. And so I think there was a little bit of comfort there of, you're going to go into this work now, and you're going to go into the cemetery, and you're going to see these families. You should probably know something about our background.
Do you know where he's buried?
So he's in New York.
Okay.
He's buried in Rockland County, and I visited his grave. He's got his veteran tomb, his grave there. I try to go every year to go and clean it and just pay homage, and I leave him a pair of drumsticks every time I go there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
But yeah. It's been an honor to be able to help tie those together.
So, Mark, you've mentioned that these performances are a vehicle for change. Can you explain to our listeners the changes you've seen in yourself and others watching military music performances and you performing yourself?
Every person that I feel truly desires to become something more than themselves is inspired at some point in their life by something amazing. And it's something that changes their view, it changes their mindset, it changes their outlook. And I will tell you, I saw the Old Guard in 1985 in upstate New York. And as a kid, I didn't know what I was seeing. And I remember being a member of the Old Guard and looking at kids on the side of the road during parades. And when you're allowed to look, I mean, you're obviously in ceremonial bearing, but you would have kids come up to you after the performance, and you're a superstar to those kids. I kind of think of that as season 1 in life. Season 2 is when you recognize you're a part of that bigger team and it's not about you. The 10 minutes after that performance is the most magical time for our performers to then interact with the audience. Because my question is, in all my LPDs and my leadership, I said, is that performance more for you, or is that performance more for the listener? And you get a mix of responses there, but the people who truly get it know that the 10 minutes after the performance is pure magic, because the people you have just inspired are going to come up to you, and they're usually going to come up with their kids. And that was something that stuck with me during one of my challenging times doing a Walter Reed mission. Is I have imposter syndrome like crazy. I'm a sergeant major, but I'm a band guy. I'm a band nerd. I'm a music history nerd, and I'm proud of that now. But I struggled with how that came together. And I had a young officer that was at Walter Reed, and he had his foot amputated, and I was chatting with him. He was wearing a Yankees hat. And I was like, sir, what did this performance do for you? We had just finished. I said, what does this performance do for you? And he goes, you're second guessing your mission. I said, hell yeah, I am. Like, I really, like, I'm struggling. Like, I'm a drummer. You got blown up on an IED. You're missing your foot. Like, what did we just do for you? And he goes, do you remember fourth grade history class? It's like, kind of. Why? He goes, do you remember what it felt like the first time you were proud? The first time. What did it feel like to be proud of something? Because George Washington was a superhero. These presidents that you learn about, these founding fathers, these ideals. And I sat there and I get chills now even thinking about it. But inspiring the next generation to serve it's such a blessing to be able to do that.
Come out and support the Warrior Games, an exhilarating adaptive sporting competition for wounded, ill, and injured service members, along with their families, occurring in San Antonio, Texas, from June 13 through June 20th. Service teams go head-to-head in 12 adaptive sports over the course of 8 days, with the majority of events at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. This event is free and open to the public. Whether you're active duty, a veteran, a family member, or a patriot who wants to witness the height of human resilience, you are invited to come out and cheer for your team or sign up to volunteer. Visit DoDWarriorGames.com to see how you can support our nation's heroes.
Welcome back to Army Matters. Now, Mark, you and I both know that the Old Guard and the other music groups play a big part in representing the Army all throughout our country. But what about healing? Tell us, what do your programs do to help post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury?
So through our classes, we built a curriculum called Rudiments to Recovery. And so we dove into a bunch of research. One of our partners that we're super proud of is RAND Corporation as a research partner for us. And then Syracuse University IVMF is our evaluation partner. Close to 80%, it's like 76, 77% of veterans will not touch anything with the term therapy associated with it. And so what we started to build out was the concept of a wellness program. How do we take therapy and minus it by 5%, craft the language, craft the data, what are the key performance indicators around that? And so we could truly measure what our outcomes could be and start to provide proper deliverables. So Rudiments to Recovery, we kind of repackaged the curriculum around a project called Project Orpheus Rising. Greek god of music gets lost in the underworld and uses music to find the light. And so we built classes, workshops, and cohorts. Classes are just kind of informational settings. Workshops are building some technical skill and teaching folks about drumming and music. But the cohorts really were interesting because we dove into passive listening, active listening, meaning I'm listening to what is in the background, and I'm like, it's got a good beat. Yeah, I like that beat. Oh, there's guitar riff. Oh, that bass guitar. That sounds real good. Oh, those lyrics. Oh, that's that tune. I remember I was 1978. I was driving down the road and I was with my buddy so-and-so. Or that's the tune that Jimmy and I used to sing karaoke to before deployment. And I came home and Jimmy didn't. But now I hear that tune and that's Jimmy and I's tune. And like, I'm going to honor Jimmy by listening to that tune and giving him that respect. So that's part two. And then part three is the music creation piece. So we do active breathing exercises and we breathe to the phrasing of the music. So breathing in for 4, out for 4, breathing in for 8, out for 8, breathing in for 8, out for 16. And that controlled rhythmic breath along to the musical phrase teaches you how to basically interact with the music you're listening to. But at the end of it, you graduate with a playlist. And so we build a playlist around 7 emotions, from everything from remembrance to honor to inspiration to focus. And we use that playlist as the way that we can emotionally regulate and to say, if I'm in a place I don't want to be, what does a playlist look like when I want to be inspired? I want to go to the gym. I think we all do it. When we are wanting to focus, I can't listen to something that has lyrics because if I'm trying to write a paper, I kind of need, more of an ambient type of playlist for me to focus.
So is this linked, what you're doing at all, to holistic health and fitness that the Army's doing now?
So the short answer is yes. The depth of it is not that deep. The AUSA George Washington chapter, we've partnered together to bring a holistic health and fitness resource fair to the Army Museum. So May 2nd is our next one of those. But so this is where we're starting those conversations for sure.
That was a great throw to that. Yeah, so we definitely have to talk about that. So music can be thought of sometime as being nice to have in the Army and Department of Defense. What are some of the best ways to measure its impact?
The measurement of impact is survey driven. It has to be in the moment, because if you have a musical experience that does increase well-being, if you're not capturing that data in real time, you're missing the opportunity. And that's where, when you go to an amazing event, and it happens all the time, if you go to a Department of the Army retirement or a general officer retirement at Fort Myer and Conmy Hall, you will hear everybody talk about how amazing it is. But the folks who really know that value, they'll take the time to fill out that survey. And so in the surveys we have with Syracuse University, is a lot of it's a 5-point scale, 1 to 5, none at all to very much. And it is measuring a sense of dignity, a sense of respect, a sense of pride. But it all just depends on what is the story that you're associating the data with, and then who is the stakeholder that you're providing the data and that story in combination with? Who is the listener?
I concur completely. I did my retirement at the back end of COVID, so we still had our mask on. But people still talk about that today, almost 5 years later, about the band that was there. We really thank you for doing that.
No, I love that you just, one thing on this too, this is a comment that was made at the Bush Center. Everything is data driven. Everything is data driven. And data without a great story is going to get lost on people. But a great story without the data can't prove the impact.
So you've done a lot already. I got to ask you, how far off are we all on getting this humongous annual festival of music here in our great nation's capital? When are you going to get there?
I love that question, SMA. I've had that question from a lot of folks. And one of the things that I really am focused on is making sure we get the business model correct. Mm-hmm. But the biggest challenge for us right now is the health and wellness programming has proven where we make the most significant impact. And so we're using the tattoo this coming year with America 250 is July 17 and 18 here in D.C. We are targeting 4,000 people at this event. So it's definitely growing. I think we're about 2 years out from a massive explosion in this. We are in a hockey stick moment right now from a business perspective. And what's really fun right now is we're doing 100% growth year on year. So where we are compared to last year is 100% larger capacity. We're around 2,000-ish folks last year, 4,000 this year. And there's just been some phenomenal help and support coming from the likes of Syracuse, the Bush Institute, great partners with Amazon, great partners with Boeing.
Yeah. Well, let's throw the plug in. If somebody wants to help, what do they do? Where do they go?
So www.thewashingtontattoo.com is absolutely a great starting point. And then you can reach out to me via LinkedIn or any of our social media channels as well.
Okay, that sounds great. So what role can the broader public play in supporting service members, veterans, and first responders when it comes to this space?
So number one is ask for their story. Ask for their veteran story, and I think that's a generic throw out there, but vets want to share their story. They just sometimes don't know how to do it, or they don't think it's the right place. But if you invite them to share the story, it lowers the barrier. Yeah. And I think lowering the barrier is a massive piece of that.
That's good. So what would you tell your 15-year-old self or 10-year-old self about your service and what you're doing today?
I mean, I just have to say, just be ready, be open. And my instructor talking about, this is not ours to keep, it's ours to give was good. But always he'd say, be a sponge. Learn as much as you can about everything.
All right. So we're going to bring you back to the question I told you to think about. Who is the best drummer of all time?
All times.
All time. I mean, I can go historical. I can go.
Just give us
genre.
one, brother.
You get
Come on,
one.
Sean Reggie, one.
All right, if I have to do one, I've got to give it to my dear friend Vinnie Colaiuta. Vinnie Colaiuta played with Sting for a bunch of years, now playing with Herbie Hancock. I mean,
Nice.
yeah. Vinnie Colaiuta.
And why? What's his unique style that impresses you?
He's got rudimental hands. So he's got like the drum corps. He's got a little bit of fife and drum, the way that he plays. Yeah.
Well, Mark, I'll tell you, you have an inspiring story from the connection from your grandfather to your family to the journey of music and what it provides. I'm a firsthand recipient of that therapy. We wish you all the well. Grow this tattoo to the size it deserves to be.
Yeah.
And good luck to you in the future. And hopefully our listeners out there will help you support your mission and goals too. So, Mark, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, SMA. Thank you, sir. It's a privilege and an honor to be with you all today.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, did you get your AUSA merch yet? Check out our online selection at shop.ausa.org.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us. Army Matters is brought to you by the Association of the United States Army, the U.S. Army's professional association, member-supported, Army-connected. Visit us at ausa.org for more information or to become a member. Your membership helps AUSA continue to carry out its mission, educate, inform, and connect with the total Army, our industry partners, and supporters of a strong national defense. Today's episode was hosted by Lieutenant General Retired Les Smith and SMA Retired Dan Daly, and anchor hosted by Carrie Barrow-Heckes. Andy Bosnack is the associate producer and supervising sound editor. Major Ryan Crane is the writer, and Ellen Toner is the content editor. Umzinga Curry is the executive producer. Carrie Barrow-Heckes is the senior producer, and Savannah Campbell-Smith is the producer. Be sure to subscribe to Army Matters wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a review. As you know, we love seeing stars in the Army, especially if it comes in the form of a 5-star review. AUSA's Army Matters podcast can also be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app with the search of the word Wreath. For questions or to provide topic recommendations, email us at podcast@ausa.org. AUSA's Army Matters podcast primary purpose is to entertain. The podcast does not constitute advice or services. While guests are invited to listen, listeners, please note that you're not being provided professional advice from the podcast or the guest. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of AUSA. I'm LaSharon Duncan, hoping you have a great Army day. Hooah!